Of our Scotland. This is the 8-9 combo. This is the test match post-mortem. I'm Brett McKay. This is Harry Jones. And, mate, it's heartbreak for the Wallabies at Murrayfield.
How's it, Brett? I am sorry. I apologize to you from the universe. You got your hopes up. It was actually clear that the Wallabies were on the up, but they ran into something today.
Yeah, they did. They ran into 15 plucky Scots. And as Wallaby fans will know, it is always the hope that kills you. We're back with our immediate thoughts on the biggest match of the last full weekend of the Autumn Nations series matches. Scotland 27 have beaten Australia 13 at Murrayfield in Edinburgh. The Grand Slam dreams, not that we ever discussed them, are over and we can finally put that one to rest. But let's get into it, mate, with the 5-word headline, where the winning headline becomes the pod title. What have you got?
Simple. Australia slammed by Scotland.
Yeah, it's simple. I thought you might have got creative.
No, it was one of those matches where I thought,
okay,
it was a proper win, and they deserved it, and it put Wallabies' perspectives in order.
Well, I might have done what I thought you might have. I've said Murrayfield Maul chokes winged Wallabies.
Wow, that's a lot.
I'll leave
it to the gods to decide.
So, what worked well for Scotland in this game?
So I did write a piece for The Roar, and it was about how the Wallabies can beat Scotland. And I really value the feedback on fan sites, especially that are very Australian geared. And my thesis was that the Wallabies would have to focus much more energy on stopping Scotland from scoring than solving their problems by going to the races. I just didn't feel like a Steve Tandy defense has actually shown us that that's possible. And it might have been a bit of fool's gold to watch how the Bucks did. The Bucks did it differently with more power to score 4 tries, but very few teams have run up a score at Murrayfield lately. So I felt like it would be very difficult to do the kind of things that the Wallabies had done in weeks 1 and 2, because England's flaky. They have a coach from the Pro D2. And right now, the teams that have proper, experienced assistant coaches in their various portfolios are top. Sean Edwards for France, guys like Jerry Flannery and Tony Brown for the Bucks. You look at that second tier of coach. I'm not diminishing the Wallabies' second tier of coaches, but they're new in the saddle. They're working together. And Steve Tandy's been around Gregor Townsend for a while, and the players really understand him. So kind of how I thought it was is if Scotland scored a couple of tries, it was going to be really tough to work your way back in. At 17-6, I thought, I mean, maybe, but kind of not. I thought, like you said, I think before, they have to start well. The Wallabies have to start well. And going down 6-17 just didn't feel good enough.
No, and even going into the break, Scotland, 7-3 up. Even then, I sort of thought, I reckon they need to be ahead here, just because they're already at that point. Their own 22 defense, Scotland, was absolutely incredible. Their line-out drive defense was outstanding. It repelled Wallabies drives, 3 or 4 times in the first half alone. Sione Tuipulotu gets a lot of plaudits for his attack, but his organisation in defence, he and Hugh Jones in partnership particularly, give Scotland their defensive shape as much as their attacking shape. And I don't think they get nearly enough credit for their defensive work. And they were instrumental, because the Wallabies never got the space that they've been able to get out wide in the last 2 weeks.
And Tom Wright couldn't find the seams that he uses. That's not a knock on Tom Wright. That's proper defensive structures. Yeah.
They never got to that third pass, did they?
No. And there were moments, right, near the end of the match where you saw like raw speed by Max Jorgensen, or that magic moment by Harry Potter. But when the game was was actually being decided, which I thought was between sort of 30 minutes and 60. It just felt like that's right when Scotland did take control properly. We can talk about calls here and there, but I don't think we should because it's not right. It was definitely the better team on the day. They played the conditions well, even though it wasn't snowing. It was still a cold weather day, and I feel like they were just one step ahead. Set pieces, I thought they were a little bit better. I also thought some of their overseas-based guys like Blair Kinghorn, Finn Russell, and the fact that they're able to recruit people from different places like Sione Tupeloto, it does end up mattering. And I'll just say once again, for 2025, I know Joe was doing an experiment, but getting depth in the squad really starts to come into it when you're in the third game of a tour and you need a scrum down and you have to go to your second front row or you're stopping a Maul. There's got to be a little more, I think, attention paid to that. And Joe's a very honest man. I think he will say in a 34-man squad, there's going to have to be a little more overseas help. But I just think it was an interesting game. I felt like there were moments in the first half that got away from the Wallabies. And you can do this thing where you say, what if? But, Scotland had their what ifs too.
Yeah, they definitely did. I think the turning point in the game, I think, comes in that around that 60-minute mark, as you're talking, whenever it was. The Wallabies, there was a knock on from a Scottish line out deep in the Australian 22. Rob Valentini kicks it downfield. Jorgensen collects it. They kick it away. So they go a couple of carries, and in that little moment where he'll replay the moment so often after this game, but Tate McDermott, that crossfield kick that it was never on. The space was never there. There wasn't really a Wallaby to run into the space. He just needed to send another carrier in. They had quick ball, and that was such a crucial moment because Baylor scores in the opposite corner only a couple of minutes later. Then Finn Russell scores a couple of minutes later, and what could have been, 17-11, 17-13 is suddenly 27-6, and it was just that was the moment. That's
fair. When that kick came by Tate, I literally had a pain in my sack. I was groaning, I imagine Joe in the coach's box. I don't know if they panned to him or not, but I imagine him just putting his head down and going, no. Yeah, if there was a way to work your way back in, that was probably it. So you're probably right. It wasn't 17-6. It was then. And then hell of a try by Bayliss. I actually at first thought, no, I'm going to look at this and fault somebody. It's kind of weird to have a guy run through three guys and not have someone at fault, but I kind of think it was just a superlative effort where he was the perfect body height, had beautiful momentum.
Just carried them over.
Yeah, and I just think sometimes there are worldy tries. That's a hell of a try.
Yeah, it was a fantastic finish. I thought the same thing. I thought, well, he's just going to get pushed into touch. No, he's still going. Holy shit, he's got that down. So
it was a weird combination of quickness. He got a burst. I don't think Harry's grasp from him was bad. I think Harry was probably doing the right thing there. He probably thought he would catch him, and then he had to come back at him. But I don't really fault anyone there. That's just that's one of the tries of the year for Scotland.
Even Lenny Kitau got a good hit in underneath that I thought was going to do the sideways down. It just didn't.
Power. So, power and size.
So a key little, that was, we're probably talking about a 5 or 6 or 7 minute window, but that was a key turning point in the game. And that's not to suggest that that's where it was won and lost at all, because I think what didn't work well for Australia in this game is unfortunately the discipline demons came back to them. Like I heard 14 or 15 penalties conceded. I feel like a lot of them were in their own half, and Scotland were good enough to take advantage of it. The one big difference I think between the two teams tonight, and it's not a slight on Lolosia's line kicking, but when Russell had the chance, they got a 5 meter line out almost every time. His kicking in play was just so good tonight.
He's casually superb. There
Yeah,
are moments in the match where you just cannot believe how insouciant he is. Everyone else is killing themselves, diving, scratching, clawing, and then there's Finn, and you go, "What are you on? How can you
yeah,
be so calm?"
yeah,
Even when he
yeah,
goes for a casual drop kick, post whistle, and it goes over, and it's like silly things.
yeah,
No, I think the other thing that I would say is Scotland kept its shape, and reassembling your shape in the middle of phase play, especially when it's broken play, is really difficult. And I felt like the Wallabies, first of all, really proud of them and the things they've done to come from where they came from. And I still think a 2 out of 4, or possibly 3 out of 4 result on this tour is definitely to be lauded. But finding their shape in the middle of mayhem is what I think they don't have. And I think that comes back
yeah,
to some generalship, whether it's from 9 or 10 or 15. It's not quite at the level of the Pollards or the DuPonts or the
yeah,
Jameson Gibson Parks, who just in the game can feel like that question about Tate McDermott, like feeling what is on versus what is not, and having good communications. I think that's probably Schmidt's biggest work on for the next year.
yeah, yeah. You mentioned Blair Kinghorn earlier. It's funny. From the outset, I thought, geez, having a game. He was getting out. He was getting offloads away. His positioning was really good. And then I was actually surprised to read some commentary in my feeds at halftime from Scottish supporters absolutely lambasting him. I'm thinking, am I watching this the same way? And then the second half goes on, and he's still strong. He was the official man of the match at the ground, and he was excellent. So, man, the Scottish fans are a hard judge.
Blair's been playing in these really big matches for
Yeah,
Toulouse, and
yeah,
100,000, whatever it is, 90,000 people. He seems to be that kind of guy who can handle critique, steps up. In a way, he's sort of like Finn Russell's perfect partner in crime, because they both seem to
yeah,
be very jolly. I think Blair Kinghorn probably had the biggest celebration for Toulouse. He went on the piss for a week. His nose was at 90-degree angles. He doesn't care. I think that the personality of Scotland has finally sort of, maybe with the eradication of Stuart Hogg, the toxin, has come on.
it's
I just
coming
feel like
out.
it just feels like it's a fun group. And you go, oh,
Yeah,
I wouldn't mind playing. I was interested in the lead up. I was watching British comms. They had to find this match as the be all and end all. I know I kept saying bellwether for the Wallabies. They actually viewed this match as the match. It was the must win. Like, they thought if they lost this match, they would go 2-4 instead of 2-2 instead of 3-1. They
yeah,
also thought the Wallaby Renaissance, if the Wallabies had caught them, that it meant that Scotland wasn't that good. And they
yeah,
also
right.
always think of the world in England. It's like, so if they beat England, then we have to beat them. So it was. I thought it was interesting. I hadn't thought about it from the Scottish standpoint, that this was a massive match for Scotland at home.
Yeah, yeah, and it did feel like that. I said, maybe even I said on the pod a few weeks ago, that this game for Scotland is a chance for them to prove that they are a hell of a lot closer to the top 4 or 5 than they are
Yeah,
to
yeah.
teams, 8, 9, 10. So, Scotland needed to win this game as much as Australia did, I think, as well. So,
That's a good way to put it. Almost like it was tier 1A and tier 1B, and they
yeah,
wanted
yeah,
to be sure they were still considered to be top 5 ish
yeah.
with daylight. Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, and
I did think that there was sort of garbage time at the end. You thought maybe, and I thought Wallabies will score, and they didn't. And I think the resolve that Scotland showed at minute 82 or something, it
yeah,
did show me. It did show me quite a bit about Scotland. I thought maybe they were just a glory boys, hunting. No, they are proper
no,
defensive
they're a
outfit.
proper team. Yeah,
Yeah,
no, there's a real shape and identity and enjoyment. Like you said before, it was almost junk time at the end. Finn Russell penalty goes against them, and he just casually pots a drop goal from 40 out. It was just one of those days for them, wasn't it? So
yeah.
I wonder about what the Wallabies made a number of changes. Some of it was injury force, some of it was optional. They sat the original plan was to sit Nick Frost out. Fraser McWright sat out as well. And then they had a couple of late changes leading into it. Matt Fessler was ruled out on Friday. Jeremy Williams has come down crook on the day, so that creates more sort of force change. And I wonder if a couple of late changes actually had a bit of an impact on him, because tries he was really hard at it. He went as hard as he could, but Carlo Tizzano just didn't quite have the night that he has had in the past, and he was certainly a way off what Fraser McBride's been producing this series.
I mean, there'll be days like that in a young player's career.
Yeah, for sure.
Scotland did very well at the breakdown against the Box, and they're proper operators. Actually, I thought Jamie Ritchie
was phenomenal.
The best player on the field for me. I would have given him man a match a bit. I just grade games differently. But when you go up against guys like that, and Ferguson, even from the tight, is a little bit like a loose tight. Yeah. I thought Tizzano was going to have a rough night in choosing which ones to go for. And that's what I think is what Fraser McBride's so good at now, at what the great ones learn, is when to go, when to read a ref. I thought Tizzano, he kind of has a green light on everything right now, and he's going to have to learn which ones, even if it's wrong, and if you look back later and say it was wrong, it doesn't matter, because if they ping you, it's wrong. So you have to figure out a way. These pictures they talk about, I think he has to work on that.
Yeah, because if he wasn't getting pinged, he was getting blown out by the cleaners anyway. So
some proper cleaning going on tonight, man.
Yeah, he copped it. He absolutely copped it. Who learned the most from this game, do you think?
Joe Schmidt. He's been on a year of learning, and he's very scientific in his methodology. Sometimes I think he would have gotten more from this game than from any other one. I think he learned more from this one. I think he has a good team. He knows that they're on the up. They went in confident, and yet they still got not blown away, but I don't know. It was a proper win. So I think he will go back and be able to really dig in there and see who can handle pressure, who knows how to play when things are going well, and probably identify the holes. And like you said, those late changes, I think a guy like Joe will take those in stride and say, that's just test footy.
That's just rugby. Yeah. I think if 7-3 felt about right at half time, even if I sort of felt Australia probably needed to be ahead, 7-3 felt about right at half time. Unfortunately, I've got to say 27-13 feels about right in the end as well.
I'd predicted Scotland to win by 2 or 3, I think. Maybe I was 24-20 or something. So I was a little bit surprised that Wallabies couldn't score in the first half. I mean, that was probably my big surprise.
Yes, likewise.
When I envisioned this game, I thought 10-7, Wallabies up, that kind of thing.
The way they started, the first 20 minutes, they absolutely dominated territory possession. And I remember thinking then they should be up. Like they never led in the game, and I thought, well, they really should have taken more out of that 20 minutes, because inevitably when Scotland got the ball in the back half of the first half, they Tuipulotu got them on the ball, scored straight away. They held on to things. So I think you're right. I think Schmidt would have learned a lot from this game, and I think Gregor Townsend probably learned a bit from his team as well, that, even when they were pushed, and they were pushed, Scotland, they found a way to do what they had to do to stay in front and win the game.
I think it's for Gregor, for Tooney, would be more confirmation that some of the things they've set up are real. It's tough when you go up against the Box right now, because the Box are almost a weird team compared to other teams. But I think going into Six Nations, Gregor would have said now, he's got a very competitive team, and they shouldn't just be concerned with winning 3. They should be looking at 4. Like
they should,
beating one of the top 2, beating one of Ireland or the French. And I think in ways, but why I think the Wallabies get more out of it is because I think Scotland is an intriguing matchup team for the Wallabies. They don't give the Wallabies what a lot of other teams do, and they put a blowtorch kind of on the ruck. I mean, that breakdown was just brutal. So
it was a mess.
If there's one guy I would trust to sort that out, it'd be the combination of guys like Joe and Laurie. they'll study that. They'll rip it up. They won't like it tonight, but in the weeks coming, they'll go back to that and they'll find little vignettes and vision.
And Toulon will have found little bits in there as well, no doubt. We can't talk about the Wallabies this week without falling into stereotypical Harry Potter puns. So let's go. I mean, I think that might have been actual magic, how he managed to get that ball down.
Okay, at the risk of alienating some large segment of our audience, I've never read a Harry Potter book. If I'm in Latin America and I'm trying to get my coffee and I want to pronounce my name because Harry doesn't exist in Latin America, I just say, like Harry Potter, so I use it that way. I've always found the people who like Harry Potter are people that don't read other books. It's like, oh, it's the first book I ever read. But well done, young man, because I've never seen better body control of a left knee and a shin, and it was ridiculous. I thought, I don't know if he knew what he was doing or not, but it looked like he was actually, he was on the Matrix.
Well, that's mixed movie metaphors. I don't know what to do with this now. No, that was that. And look, he had to work hard on debut, and so I think that's just reward for that. So well done to him. I think we might have hit the end, which leaves me just to ask you one last question. Where the hell are you? Are you out in the desert somewhere?
I'm not entirely sure, but there's a movie called Hell or High Water, and I think I'm in the town where that bank was robbed. I got my getaway car.
You're not going to find yourself in another Alec Baldwin headline or something, are you?
No, I hope not. I'll be fine.
Likewise, it'd be difficult to do the pod without you.
Sorry, mate. I know that you went into this game with a lot of hope and probably some
a lot of nerves. I've got to say, I've been having a weird feeling about this game since Friday. So yeah,
I know on our mini group chat, I said I'm cautiously pessimistic, and I think that was probably about right.
I probably felt the same, but I just wasn't going to say it out loud. So,
yeah,
that's about how it was. The other games this weekend, mate, of course, France 37 beat Argentina 23 in Paris. They led that 30-9 at halftime. Ireland 52.
Very, very deceptive score, by the way. Very deceptive. There's one time where rugby doesn't seem right. That first half was even Stevens, some horrifically weird situations happening to Argentina, and a great candidate for the softest yellow of the year. And then a weird doctrine being applied now where it doesn't matter where the ball goes, it's whether your palm is facing backwards or forwards. That will discern your intent. When seriously, can we just look at the ball and see if it went backward? And can we stop being so weird about, attempted interception, knockback? I mean, come on, let's make this simple. It's stupid.
I feel like we'll get into this more in our weekly pod in a couple of days' time. Ireland 52 did it pretty comfortably against Fiji 17 in Dublin. They were up 28-3 at halftime. South Africa were equally comfortable against Wales 45-12 in Cardiff. They were up 26-5 at halftime. And then in a weird kind of boring game, New Zealand beat Italy 29-11 in Turin, and that was a game of rugby that was played at some point. But I think, mate, that is a wrap on another Test match post-mortem for the Northern Spring Autumn Test Series. And with one last weekend of international rugby for 2024 to come next weekend. We're nearly there. We're nearly at the end of the year.
It's been a hell of a year. Actually, it's been my favorite Test rugby year that wasn't a World Cup in ages. I can't remember a better, interesting, more engrossing, plus very bucky year.
Yeah. No, it's been good. Tell us what you think right here on the 8-9 Combo YouTube channel. You can hit us up on the socials. Tell Harry and I what you think on the socials as well in our usual places. And we're all now, and the pod as well, we're all on BlueSky trying to do our thing over there as well. Make sure you're subscribed on YouTube and you're following on all the pod platforms wherever you tune in, and make sure you've got notifications and all that business turned on as well. This is the Test match post-mortem from the 8-9 Combo, the short side set piece combination you didn't realize you needed. Coming from the podcast double act you already had, I'm Brett McKay. He's Harry Jones. And we'll be back in your ears with Irish rugby writer, author, and playwright Patrick McCarry this week.
Come play with us.
Woo!